Hi. Okay, so welcome back to the pod. We're gonna do something a little different today. I'm gonna do my makeup and we're gonna chit chat. So, I have been going through a wild transformation lately, and I'm trying to figure out what's next because I have a lot of ideas and I have a lot of passion behind those ideas, but I've also been wildly aware that I have spent the last 5+ years making other people's dreams come true. I have been really great with my clients, really great with everybody that I've worked with, and creating things for them and being there for people, friends, clients, family, etc., in a way that was really beneficial to everyone, including me at times, but I also have not really been caring for myself. So I'm going through this kind of transformation right now where I'm recognizing that I need to prioritize myself a little more because I have been unfulfilled in specifically my business, but also in like other facets of my life. And so I need to take radical responsibility for that. I'm very aware of I'm very self-aware. I have done a lot of healing work. I have done a lot of um, therapy kind of work, and I have become a very self-aware person. I think I always have been, but it's more so like in tune now. Like I know how to kind of harness that. Anyway, so one of the things that I've been kind of realizing is that I have spent a lot of time not knowing what I want to do because I can do so many different things. I have done lots of different things for lots of different people. Um, I have helped coaches take their business from literally non existent to millions of dollars in just a few years by literally writing programs for them, creating the marketing, doing all of the things that if I were to do for myself, I would have the same, if not better, results because it's my passions and my, form of um, joy and things like that versus like doing it for somebody else where it's like I, don't really necessarily care about their industry or their frameworks. So anyway, I've spent a lot of time doing that. And I'm realizing that one of the things that you know, one thing that I've always wanted to do is do more video kind of content, whether that be YouTube, podcast, like regular marketing, Instagram, TikTok, that kind of stuff. And I have always followed very specific people on social media. Like I only follow people who inspire me. I follow, like I'm really intentional about who I follow and how much I allow into my brain, and how much I engage with and things like that. And so I was watching earlier today, one of my, favorite people that I have been watching for probably 10 years on like YouTube. She also has social media and all of that. She has gone through a lot of pivots in her business and in her life. And I love that so much. It's very relatable to me because I also, as you're seeing right now, I'm going through pivots. But one of the things that I realized today, and the more, like once you kind of notice it, you can't stop seeing it everywhere, is how performative people are, especially nowadays in this kind of social media world. Um, the performance is not my vibe. Anyway, I had this epiphany this morning while I was sitting down to get ready, and I was like, I might as well record this. That I was in musical theater growing up. I love to perform on stage. I love to sing. I love to be, I love to perform for performance sake. What I do not love is performative marketing, performative videos, performative content, performance in a business sense. When that is not your main, when you're singing on stage, you are entertaining. The performance is to entertain. And although, yes, I love to create entertaining content, and I love a video is great because of that. It allows you to have things to look at. It's visually appealing. But what I don't love is when people are doing things for the sake of a video. So, for example, I could see from a mile away that I went back in this particular content creator's archives today because her videos always inspired me. And I was feeling a little uninspired this morning. I was like, I want some like old school inspiration like I used to, like when I first started my business. And I've been finding myself doing that a lot, going back to what I did or what I watched when I started my business to kind of get that light, that kind of reinvigorate what I had. And so I went to watch this video and I was like, oh my gosh, so much of this is performative. She is doing so much of this just for the camera. And as somebody who has spent a lot of time filming vlogs, filming content and things like that, I have done the performative thing before when I'm filming and I've never posted it because it makes me feel so icky. I go back and watch it and I'm like, I literally only did this because I thought people would want to see it. And so I was, for example, watching like this morning routine video of hers on YouTube. And I was like, oh my gosh, you could see it in her face. You could see it in how she was saying things, that she was bullshitting the entire thing. But she didn't actually believe this. She didn't actually do these things. But she thinks that her audience wants to see it because the last video she did like this got 100,000 views. And it just made me so aware. Oops. It just made me so aware of the performance. And I've seen it so many times, but it really just kind of stuck out to me today. And so I'm finding, especially in this world of AI and this space where we're all trying to figure out what's real and what's not, and who is using their actual brain when they're creating copy and who's not, and who is, working on offers that are actually going to better your life versus people who are just trying to make a quick buck. I think it's one of the things that is missing, or I guess what I should say is one of the things that is too prevalent right now, is performative creation. There's a difference between creating with entertainment in mind, creating with hooks, and whether that's visual hooks or text hooks on the screen and things like that. That is marketing. That's how that works. But this performative thing where I'm like, people are saying, like, let's say, for example, in a morning routine, it's like, oh, every morning I choose 5 things off my list and I do all of these things. And you could just tell that this person has like never actually spent the time doing those things. They're just like, I watched another video the other day. This girl was talking about like pulling tarot. And she was like, oh, I pull tarot every single day and I do all these. I'm like, you can tell that it's not authentic. So that's, I think, where I'm at with everything, is that I'm recognizing where that authenticity is lacking in this online space. And I really think that we're going to see this, like, I've already started to see it. I mean, half the people, when I started my business, half the business coaches on Instagram that I started my business and were following, they're not even on Instagram anymore. They're not around. They don't have content. They don't have social media. They don't have businesses. They have gone. And some of that, I'm sure, is just life and, changing what you want to do and all of that. And that's all fine and good. But I think there was a lot of it where it was like they couldn't keep up with the authenticity. So I think we're going to see a lot of shifts and changes in the online space, even just in the next few months, where the authenticity is what's going to prevail. And that's a crazy thought that like we have to be on the lookout for those things, um, because that's just not how it was even like 5 years ago. Like when I started in the online space, we didn't have all the AI and the gadgets. um, and if we did have them, it wasn't being used like it is now. And it's just really interesting to see how we have let not only AI take over what we're creating, but then this idea of I'm creating for the views, I'm creating for the engagement, instead of creating offers and businesses around what we are passionate about, what our version of success looks like, how we want to spend our everyday life, and then like figuring that out, building the business that makes that happen, and being so wildly passionate about what you're talking about that you want to hop on the camera or make a graphic that has to do with that thing. But that's just not what people are doing. We're forcing ourselves into these boxes so that we feel better about creation because we're doing what everyone else is doing. So, anyway, my 2 cents on it. That's that. I just really can't. I just can't get over, like in my head, I keep replaying the performance of this particular creator that I have looked up to for so long that I have, and I'm not saying I don't look up to her anymore by any means. I get it. Don't get me wrong. I get it. Like I said, I've created those things, those kind of performative videos where I talk about a routine that I have or this or that, but I have never let it see the light of day. And I've been doing a lot of both healing work, but also self-reflection. I think it's really important that we reflect before we reassess, before we refocus. And so I've been doing a lot of self reflection lately of like, why have I not posted more? Why have I not created more video content? Why have I not shown up? Because I've got the gadgets, I've got the tech, I've got the equipment, I have, what is my actual excuse? And I think, once again, I'm going to use that term, radical responsibility. I think it's really important that we take radical responsibility for why we have not chosen to succeed. Because I do think that we are all innately able to succeed. I think you need to find the avenue, the methodology that works best for you. I think you need to take responsibility for your actions. I think you need to figure out, what your version of success is, set your goals and go and do. But I've been trying to figure out what that looks like for me and why am I in this rut? Why am I feeling like this after all this time in business? And I have had a very successful business by all measures of what society deems successful. My business has lasted for more than 5 years. I make 6 figures a year minimum. Like it's successful in a lot of ways. But why am I in this rut? Why am I feeling unfulfilled in this moment? And I think it really goes back to just recognizing that I don't want to make bullshit content just to make bullshit content. And I want my offers to truly impact people. I want to design my dream life, and then I want to live my dream life, and I want to have a business that fuels and funds it, not live my entire life around my business. And so, yeah, in that self reflection, I'm realizing like how much I have allowed to kind of get swept away. Not because I was afraid to put it out, but because I was afraid to. I do think there's a fear in there, and I'm working on finding that. it's more so like it's not what everyone else is doing. What I am being called to do in my mind is not the typical way to live. But at the end of the day, doing business, being a business owner, being a female business owner in my 20s, making the money that I make, helping the amount of people that I help, that's not normal either. And so I'm just thinking like, I don't know. I'm just thinking about what that looks like, what that next step looks like, and recognizing that I don't have to have all of the answers right now. I don't have to figure it out today. But I do know for a fact that I want to be really, really true to myself moving forward. And really, really, really mindful of whose goals I'm working towards. I'm just really working on figuring out what I want and need to feel really fulfilled in life. And for me, my business is a massive, massive part of who I am and what I was put on this earth to do. And in my self-reflection and my education, my self-education, educating myself about myself, I have been looking into human design. I have been looking into astrology and different, ways to get to know myself a little better. I'm recognizing, as a 5/1 projector in human design and as an Aquarius and all of these like things that I am and who I am meant to help a lot of people. I am meant to help people understand what they were put on this earth to do. And so I'm just taking it slow. I'm just allowing myself to figure out what comes next. But I also have a lot of, desires and personal fears and worries around how quickly that happens. And so when I say I'm taking it slow, it's like one of those things that my whole body is like, we don't want to take it slow. I don't want to take it slow. I want to do it all right now. But I've tried that before. And in part of my reflecting and reassessing and refocusing, I am recognizing that doing what I've always done is not going to get me new results. Period. So I'm taking the philosophy of how we spend our days is how we spend our lives. And I am recognizing that I need to figure out how I want to spend my life and then start spending my days that way. So I've had some breakthroughs this morning. I was on the treadmill and I was doing my journaling and just working through some different thoughts. And I had a really cool, like, kind of epiphany about how I want to move forward with my offers and my just plans in general for what's coming in my business. And then I came upstairs and I wanted to kind of sit down and talk about those kind of things. So that's why we're here. I know this is not like my typical podcast episode. It's a little unconventional. It's a little different. It's also in a video format, which I've never done. So we'll see how that all goes. But I wanted to press record, I should say. I wanted to get started. I wanted to come back and do something, take action. I wanted to take action because I am sick and tired of sitting on the sidelines of my own life and cheering on everybody else. Now, I'm not sick and tired of cheering on everybody else. Don't get me wrong. That's not how I mean that in the way of like, I don't want to cheer anyone else on. I only want to cheer on myself. But I am tired of not cheering for myself. I'm tired of knowing that I could do all of the things because I'm doing them for everybody else, but then not doing them for myself. So that's where we're at today. If you're hearing this, then that means I put it out, which again is bizarre because I'm one of those kind of people that is quite the perfectionist, and this is not by any means perfect. And in the past, I would have deleted it. And as I'm saying this right now, I still might. But if you're hearing this, then I didn't. So the gist, I guess, of it is that I am wanting to create more videos, more day in the life kind of content, more. I have an interesting life. I have a really fun life. And I want to document that. But I refuse to do it in a performative way. I refuse to show up and act like an actor in my own life. I am the main character. The main character does not need to act in her own life. And that's kind of where everything is. All of it's kind of coming to a head. I'm trying not to get emotional right now because even as I'm saying all of this, it feels like it's all coming to a head of like me figuring out the root of what's been holding me back, but also what's going to propel me forward. And I tell the babes in my membership, it's called Alchemy. I tell them all the time, like, we're not doing things just to do them. We're not being performative. And we also have to remember that a lot of times when we're going through transitions and pivots, we are like a slingshot. Sometimes we have to get pulled back about a foot or two before we are let go and slingshot a mile away, right? And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I think I'm just reaching this point where I cannot be pulled back any further. I'm so uncomfortable in that because it feels like mediocrity. It feels like not enoughness. It feels like I'm like a stuck version. And that's how I imagine a slingshot feels. Like when you get it back to a certain point, you get it back so far, you can't pull it back anymore. If you pull it back anymore, it's going to break. You have to let it go. And so I'm feeling like I've done the work to get to the point where I'm ready to release my hand and let the slingshot just freaking fly. So all that to say, if you like this kind of format where I'm kind of just riffing, not to say that all of the podcast episodes are going to be like this. I'm going to have our structured, typical podcast episodes. And maybe this isn't a podcast episode. Maybe this is something that I put on like YouTube. But I feel like where it is kind of more of an audio and video, like you could listen to this as a podcast. So I'd love your feedback. If I should include this as a podcast episode so that you can listen to it on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you listen to your podcasts, or if this feels different and maybe you love the podcast because of the structure of it, but you want this to be something different. Maybe it's like where I'm just doing my makeup and we talk. Maybe it's, I don't know. I'm so open to any thoughts that you have. If you like this format, let me know. If you don't like this format, also let me know. If you want the podcasts to stay separate and then this be, on YouTube maybe, we could do that. I don't know. I'm open. You let me know how you're feeling about it. I'm going to go post this. Yeah. Okay. I'll see you soon.